What do you hear?
Uncommon that you can't hear me. It's on now. It's on now. Okay. Once again, welcome. We have a quorum present for business tonight. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, so we finished up a study session that went a little bit long, very productive. We'll call the meeting to order. Let's say we came to order at 7:50, just a little bit late. At this time, I would like to introduce a couple of additions and deletions to tonight's agenda, and then I'll open it to the board for their adds. First one I'd like to add would be would come down as action item number 4 to approve an intergovernmental agreement between Wayne County and Grosse-Ile Township, the local partnering initiative for extension of 2018. Okay, moved by the treasurer, or moved by the supervisor, second by the treasurer. Those in favor of adding that to tonight's action items signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that will be added as action item 4. And also I'd like to add to the tonight's consent agenda would be consent agenda item number 3 to approve a modification 1 to an existing intergovernmental agreement between county and the township to move some funds from one project to another. Okay, moved by the supervisor, seconded by treasurer, and you all have this paperwork in front of you. Those in favor of adding this to the consent agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. That will be added. Any other additions, deletions to tonight's agenda? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of approving tonight's agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? The agenda stands as amended. With that, open it up to public comment on tonight's agenda items. All right, none offered. Let's move on to tonight's consent agenda, Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Brian. Move for approval of consent agenda 19-016, which is the minutes of the May 13th, 2019 regular meeting, check register dated through June 7th, 2019, and the approval of the county intergovernmental agreement.
Support? Discussion? None? Those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Yeah, the consent agenda is therefore approved. Action items. Normally, Mr. Buddy would introduce the sanitary sewer improvement, capital improvement plan, but I'll introduce it. So I move that the Grosse-Ile Township Board of Trustees approve the resolution and schedule to authorize a budget amendment to the wastewater treatment plant fund for the sanitary sewage system asset management program expenditures of $317,500 for the 2019 through 2020 fiscal year. Who's qualified to give an in-depth? Mr. Kostick is. On the sanitary sewer, the system asset management plan.
I would second it, Mr. Supervisor, your motion.
Okay, thank you. That helped. That moves things more quickly. Thank you, Mr. Fletcher.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for calling on me. I thought that the township manager was going to jump in. Do you want me to jump in to start?
You can both jump.
Okay, we're going to jump in here. Well, you're all familiar with the administrative consent order regarding the wastewater treatment plant, and in the report that you have, the summary that you have, there are several things that are required that we have to do. The most expensive undertaking is submit to the state. We've already submitted a plan, but now is the actual program where we would do what's called a asset management analysis of the wastewater plant. So basically, we're forced to look at every one of our mechanical pieces of equipment, all the pumps, all the weirs, the grinder pumps, the other equipment that is involved in this treatment process, put a life expectancy on all that, as well as the electrical at the plant, the HVAC at the plant, the concrete sediment tanks, the settling tanks, just everything at the plant that's structure, mechanical equipment, involves a sewage system, not only at the plant, but our 5 lift stations as well. and our sewer system, including our manholes and the sewer lines. As you know, we've been involved in a TV inspection we're in the second year of a 5-year program to TV inspect all of our sanitary lines. We have discovered a few leaks, a couple substantial leaks, repaired them when we run into them, and we have to do an analysis of every manhole, because a manhole is a structure that the olds were built out of brick and they tend to leak a lot and get stormwater into our wastewater system, which is undesirable. So at any rate, the program, we're also going to, as long as we're putting all this data on a program, and with the pipes, the sewer system, we're going to recommend here that we start a GIS system, which is Geographic Information Systems. And so that's another item included in here. So we have the pipe evaluation, the asset management program for the wastewater plant, and everybody's been doing this. As you know, we're probably a little behind in getting it initiated, when I say everybody, around the state. And the manhole inspection program. So we have, our engineers have been working with Fishbeck, another consultant that has expertise in analyzing wastewater treatment plants and the structural and mechanical equipment therein. And this is the first step of the program. It's a 4-year phased program, but this year's cost is $317,500. The funds would come out of the wastewater treatment plant reserves. Cover it?
As you brought that up, I recalled this was one of the things discussed as we discussed the new lead copper rules. All these things going forward on water in, water going out. It's part of a big plan that the state is. It's probably the right thing to do for the most part. Parts of it are.
But we have to.
I've got problems with some other parts, but Mr. Treasurer,
we have to do it. So
we have to. It's a mandate.
Thank you, Bill. Your explanation was great. I just want to add to it that we've been working on this project for probably 20 years on and off. We've already budgeted a number of funds to this project to stay up to our requirements with the state of Michigan and the federal government. And because we do discharge sewage into the Great Lakes water system, we are mandated to meet the requirements of MDEQ and the state of Michigan and the federal government. Although this may look like an unfunded mandate, the reality is it's a great program. It's expensive. We may not have done it this way without being driven, because it is costly. It's costly to the residents. But we've prepared for this. The township is prepared for it. The sewage treatment plant is prepared for it, and the DPS is prepared for it. So I just want to tell everybody that the funds, this is a first year of expenditure. The total expenditure is going to be over a 4-year period, somewhere around $650,000. But when it's done, it's done. And it'll bring us up to modern day times with our computers and our expenditures. And we need to do this. Even though we may not like it, we need to do it. Thanks, Bill.
I just want to add before the manager speaks, tomorrow night at our commission meeting, we meet tomorrow night. Well, one of the things we're going to approve is, I hope approve, I know he worked hard on it, Ryan Welch, our new wastewater treatment plant operator. We've been working together, and he's developed a 6-year capital improvement program. Each year for the past 15 years or so, we've spent about $200,000 to $300,000 a year replacing things, repairing things. You know, you have a system that is very deep with 4 levels, 40 feet basement, where the sewage comes into the plant. It's a very humid environment, and everything wears out quickly in that environment. Most of you have been to the wastewater plant. If you haven't, I would like to invite you to come there. But at any rate, so we're going to approve that tomorrow night. And I guess that's what I have to offer.
Bill, one question. Is your GIS a backup for Les Schmidtke, or Les Schmidtke a backup for the system?
That's a good question.
He has been there for over 35 years, if I recall correctly, and the institutional information he has is invaluable.
He's in favor of this, so there you go.
Excellent, thank you.
He's an icon on most of our maps.
Well, I think it's fair to say that if you don't take care of your infrastructure will stop taking care of you. And we don't want that to happen, especially with something like a wastewater treatment plant.
Mr. Ram.
The few items I'd like to add, and basically to pick up where Chairman Kostick left off, we have been working on a plan. We've had our 5, 6, 10-year program that we've been rolling through and constantly updating. State permit requirements are requiring the format. They're requiring the certifications on your inspections. It's taking it to the whole nother level based upon the program that we already have in place. So is it a good thing? As Treasurer Van Oss said, yes, it is, but it's really doing it in a format and a method that is an industry standard. And because we don't want to have to keep reinventing the wheel every so many years, the geographic information system and that electronic database is just key for this. And that's something that I know when I first became township manager and Supervisor Jones was here, we were looking at actually starting that geographic information system base map. So, but in a sense, it's good that we didn't start it then because things have changed and evolved and developed so much. It's actually probably more cost effective today than it was then. But so, and in your board packet and the motion that was read, we ask you to adopt this resolution that we have included in the packet. And if you like, I can read it, or I'll forego the details if you like.
You can just highlight it, Dale.
Okay. Township Board Resolution, June 10th, whereas the Michigan Department of Environmental Quality requires the township to undertake an asset management program. And the township is required at all times of property operate, maintain the facilities related to the sewer system and treatment plant, all control systems installed or used by the township. And whereas the sanitary sewer system asset management program function is centered on a framework of 5 core elements, and these are requirements right from the state permit: the current state of the assets, the required sustainable level of service, the assets critical to sustain performance, the minimum life cycle costs, the best long-term funding strategy, and achieve the goals of the effective performance, and adequate funding, and adequate operator staffing and training. So we look at every single component. We figure its life expectancy. We figure how long it's been there. We figure what it's going to take. We figure a replacement schedule and how we're going to pay for it based upon that schedule. And the township has prepared the asset management plan consisting of a 4-year cycle. The state has asked us to make it 2, and we said absolutely not. It's impossible for us to do so. And the 4-year program is what we have put together. They haven't said no to us. We know they understand that we're also working on our wastewater treatment plant. We're finalizing the improvements at the plant related to the sanitary sewer improvement requirement. So we expect that not to be an issue. And this will be a 4-year program, as I said, $685,000. And based upon the recommendation of the Department of Public Service Commission, we asked the board authorize the budget amendment in the amount of $317,000 in the wastewater treatment plant fund for this current fiscal year. Now, we knew that this was coming. We did a response a year and a half ago. The state finally responded. We had no idea what to put into the budget this year because we wanted to get the state's response of our first program proposal, and we did submit that. I think it was actually almost 2 years ago. So we were able to keep it within the neighborhood of what we normally annually budget for that maintenance figure, and that's around $300,000. So that worked out well. And we ask your support and approval. Thank you.
Other comments, questions for the manager?
One question, if I may. Am I correct in understanding that this is something that's required statewide?
Yes, sir.
It's not just specific to Grow Zeal, but to everybody who has a permit from the state?
That is correct. Yes, it is.
I was at the DPS commission meeting on Tuesday, and the presentation was outstanding by the 2 ladies that were there. I can't remember what the names of the firms were, or for just one firm, but it was very, very, very good and very understandable.
And that's a subcontractor for CE Range, Fishbeck and Associates, that do the geographic information system.
Will you be rebroadcasting that?
Yes. Yes, I believe it already is on the cycle.
Other comments, questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rim. All right, with that, those in favor of approving the resolution and schedule authorizing a budget amendment to the wastewater treatment plant fund for the sanitary sewage system asset management program expenditures of $317,500 for the 2019 through 2020 fiscal year, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. We will thank you all. We'll get to work on that. I'm going to introduce tonight's next resolution, and I'm asking the Board of Trustees to demonstrate by resolution the continued support and confidence of the Grosse Ile Board of Trustees has in the job performance of the Grosse Ile Township Animal Control Officer.
Mr. Supervisor, as the liaison to the Police Commission, I would second that.
Thank you, Mr. Bletcher. And just the short version, Ms. Cordes Redfield has endured repeated verbal and published attacks from numerous persons throughout the township. It's incumbent on the Board of Trustees to demonstrate its continued support for this or any other employee facing such unwarranted public defamation. Comments from the board?
Read the resolution.
I will read the resolution then. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Whereas Ms. Julie Cordes Redfield was hired as the full-time animal control officer by the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees in 2011 and has served continuously in that position since, and whereas Ms. Cordes Redfield has met all local and state certifications, training, and accreditations required to serve as the township's animal control officer and shelter manager, now therefore be resolved the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees does fully support and appreciate the professional performance of Ms. Julianne Cordes Redfield as the township's animal control officer and shelter manager. Comments among the board? Mr. Treasurer?
I'm a little uncomfortable not because I don't think Julie's doing a great job, because I think she is, but simply because I'm not in a position to evaluate her. So I'm going to ask our Deputy Chief, are you satisfied with her performance? Yes, sir. Dale, are you satisfied? I'm good.
Deputy Chief?
Julie's worked in the capacity as shelter manager since the first of the year. She's done an exemplary job. The shelters, she has a strategic plan that she's putting together to make sure that the maintenance, and she doesn't go over budget, and she's been doing an excellent job. No complaints on our end, so everything's moving forward.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. Other comments among the board?
Yes.
Mr. Malvesto?
Like Treasurer Van Oz, I'm troubled by this as well. Nothing personal, but this is a precedent that you're going to set that, to my knowledge, has never taken place in the past with any board. I look at our police department. The officers work rotating shifts. They work overtime to cover for one another for reasons of illness, for vacations, for whatever the reason. They just work the shifts that are required. The dispatchers work rotating shifts, and they as well cover when other dispatchers are off, either for illness or on vacation. In the past, there have been police officers who have come before the board in recognition for things that they have done, regardless of what they are. But they've always been brought forward by the chief, and on behalf of the chief brought it forward on behalf of the officer in question. We've got a fire department that turns out any time of the night, 7 days a week, multiple times a night. They do their job, and we all thank them for every time they do that. They're wonderful representatives of our township. In the DPS, I look at employees like John Kime, who will turn out on the weekends, in the night, in the freezing temperatures of winter, to repair our water lines. None of these people has it been necessary to have a resolution of support. We have supported them every way possible. Their levels of service are symbols of pride to this township and to the departments that they work for. But it's never been brought forward to this board to have an action item where we have a resolution of support. It's never been done before, There's no reason for it to take place tonight. This is a disservice to all the people to every employee that serves this township. I use the police, the fire, and DPS because of the environment they work at. It's a 24/7, middle of winter, middle of summer, heat of day. It doesn't matter whether they're cutting trees off of our roads to make our roadways passable. But there's no resolution of support necessary. They're proud to do their job. And I just find that this does nothing other than validate a poor decision that was made a year ago or 2 years ago. It's just not necessary.
Well, let me step back a little bit. If any township employee were forced to endure the opprobrium that Ms. Cordes Redfield has had over the last 2 years, I would also bring up a resolution of support from this board so that township employee knows that his ultimate employer, this Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees, has the full faith and confidence in that employee. Right now, Julie's the only one who's been subject to this continued assault, and I think it's important, I think it's mandatory that this board either show that we do support her or we replace her, and that'll be determined by the outcome of this vote.
Sir, if you poke a hornet's nest with a stick enough times, you're going to get stung. Just don't blame it on the person next to you.
Other comments from Madam Clerk?
I would just like to say that I definitely support this resolution. As you know, we do celebrate the employees that are brought forward for celebration by their department chairs and by members of the public. But in this particular instance, I have to agree with Supervisor Loftus. This employee her performance, her personality, just her being were called into question publicly at township board meetings, in letters to the editor, in many public fora. And while we have individually defended this individual and defended the performance of this individual and the functions of the office that this individual is performing, I too think it's important that we stand up as a board and recognize the performance and that we stand behind this individual.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Other comments? Mr. Fletcher?
I would add that Ms. Cordes has been not only employed by this township for a number of years in various capacities. She was with the reserves. She has been with the animal shelter now for the better part of a decade. She has been vilified in the papers. She's been vilified on television. I don't agree with everything that she has done, but I will say that I do not know of a single person, a man or a woman, who has put up with what she has put up with and has come through with flying colors in terms of her job performance. I know that it has to be personally very difficult for her many times to get out of bed in the morning and read the paper or watch what's going on social media or even on the televised meetings that we've had where people have come to the podium to personally attack her. I do not know of a single person in my 61 years that has done so much and put up with so much. And Mr. Malvesto, I disagree with you. This is a unique circumstance. We're not setting precedent. This person has gone through hell. And I think it's time for this board to say, enough is enough.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Mr. Nelson?
Brent, she answers to the chief, correct?
Yes.
So the chief has been on board since what date? And there's been no issues with her?
None whatsoever.
So what's the issue here? I mean, I agree with the resolution, but Tom, if you can tell us something that's so bad, tell us. I mean, you wrote that scathing letter in the Tales publication, and half of it was untrue.
We're getting beyond the scope of this. But other comments from the board? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of demonstrating via resolution the continued support and confidence of the Grosse Ile Board of Trustees in the job performance of the Grosse Ile Township Animal Control Officer, Miss Julie Cordes Redfield, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
With that, the motion carries. I want to thank the board for the support. I'm sure Miss Redfield hopefully sleeps better. Action item number 3. Chief.
Oh, boy.
Start off by handing this out.
Is that the new floor?
It's the new floor.
Might be the old floor.
That's the old floor.
That's the old floor.
The old floor. We went up for bid, as you well know. After the last meeting, we discussed the ongoing problem with the apparatus bays epoxy finish that's been down for quite a few years, and it's been failing for as long as I've been chief.
Yeah. Chief, we love you, honey, but we need a motion.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I do something wrong?
No. We need to make a motion before we ask you to start speaking
I'll
about
ask the liaison. Mr. Malvesto, would you introduce the apparatus bay?
I'm sorry, I don't have a copy of the motion.
In that case,
to authorize... You take care of it, Mr. Supervisor. I don't have a problem.
Madam Clerk.
So the motion is in our packet.
Yeah.
The motion is to authorize the fire chief to contract with Borner Restoration, Inc., the removal of the epoxy floor finish in the fire and rescue bays for the sum of $22,700.
Second. Thank you, Madam Clerk.
And just for the record, it's available online, the motion.
All righty. As you well know, we've had ongoing problems with the floor. I know in the last meeting you guys got a bunch of pictures of the current condition. As you know, the building, the public safety building is now 30 years old, 31 years old, and it looks like it's brand new. Well, there's a reason for that. Police and fire take a lot of pride in how that building is taken care of. This project's been on my list for probably a good 15 years, but other things have popped up during the course of these 15 years, and now it's a good time to do the replacement. I had budgeted $27,000 for some of the preliminary costs I got with it. If you look at the spreadsheet on the costs, it comes to $43,000, but we're not spending $43,000 because the company wanted $20,000 to put sealer on it. I've already got a price to put sealer on it at a later date to a tune of about $5,000. So, but that being said, I want to remove the floor and live with the floor for a year before I do anything with it. I'm very gun shy of putting any type of product on that floor. The floor doesn't have visqueen underneath the concrete. That is the reason for the failure. It can be corrected. They come in and grind the floor down in a 2-day process. Believe it or not, with no dust. The government doesn't allow dust anymore, so everything's got to be captured. It's like 99% captured. It is an expensive process because it's got to be blasted off the floor. Some of it's stuck, some of it's not, but it really, really looks terrible. I know most of you have been through the apparatus bay, and there's chunks, holes, cracks. It's a mess. And it's been, of course, driving me crazy. And you all know what I did for a living prior to becoming a fire chief, but I was a floor covering contractor for 20-some years with my father. So this is just a failure that's just been driving me crazy. So, but it will definitely be a overall improvement for the apparatus bay. And the other side of the coin, too, is this floor that's on here, which I didn't put on, is extremely slippery, and you understand our conditions when we're in there with wet trucks and winter and washing. So I'm looking to replace it. It comes to about $22,000, $700, and that's considerably under the $27,000 I had budgeted. So, and I'm hoping to get it done before while we're on it. We have our July open house on July 28th, so we're moving our fall date into our summer date to see if we can capture more residents during the summer months. So,
Chief, what experience do we have with Borner? Do we have any recommendations? With
CE Raines are the one that wrote the specs to remove it. I know you all know Joe from CE Raines. He's the one that headed up the project. I was just the guy following along. And believe it or not, we only got one bid, which was a surprise to him. But he has dealt with this company before, which is out of Lansing. So CE Raines has some history with the company. So
I always get, when I see a single bid, you get a little bit nervous on the numbers, but
right.
With the range recommendation.
Joe was comfortable with it.
Comments from the board?
Chief, the floor that's in there, the concrete, that's original to the building, isn't it?
That's correct. It's 12 inches reinforced concrete because of the static loads that are on that concrete. But it's got to come off. looks terrible.
You're talking about more than just the surface. You're talking about replacing the floor.
No, just taking that surface
That
off, that
surface
epoxy.
off.
The machine actually blasts and grinds the floor and puts a smooth kind of semi-glossy finish to it. There might be some repair work to the floor due to the fact that they blasted it the original time to get it to stick, and it just didn't stick.
You're not talking about going down to the level, replacing the
concrete
level or anything?
No, just to replace all that concrete, probably looking at $200,000 to replace all that concrete. It's 12 inches thick, so.
Okay. Any other questions for the chief? Then, with none offered, those in favor of authorizing the fire chief to contract with Borner Restoration Incorporated for the removal of the epoxy floor finish in the fire and rescue bays for the sum of $22,700, those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
None offered. Chief, thanks. Okay, the ad that I requested, and I want to thank the board for approving. It's last week I got hit with a bunch of traffic from engineering at Wayne County. So, and I want to thank Deputy Clerk Friel, because I was giving him changes about every 10 minutes, and he was trying to get them printed correctly and out to the board. But the motion is to approve via resolution an intergovernmental agreement between Wayne County and Grosse Ile Township, referred to as the Local Partnering Initiative for 2018. Looking for support. Thank you, Madam Clerk. This IGA is a continuation of, and I call it 2018, it's a continuation of last year's local partnering initiative, and makes available $388,888, it's hard to say that, $388,888 from the county for repairs to local roads, subject to a 20% match by the township. In the agreement, the county, as a side note, in the agreement, the county requested a $5 million commercial general liability insurance limit, but we're requesting that be reduced to $3 million. Otherwise, it throws about another $11,000 cost onto us. But either way, we are getting township funds to continue repairing roads.
Do we need to read the resolution?
The resolution is the contract.
Okay.
So we can see that by reference. We'll have it. It's if you want to look it up, it's public documents. Wayne County Work Order number 95767. What are we at? About 20 pages here, and with a few addenda. But it's a continuation of the local partnering we've had with Wayne County. And also, at the close of business Friday, I got another letter or another email from Wayne County with a next year's, well, by the end of this year's, local partnering for another $250,000. Topic for another board meeting, but we are getting funds from the county to fix the local roads. So basically, I'm going to ask the board to approve this by the enclosed resolution and to approve this intergovernmental agreement. Any questions from the board? With that, those in favor of approving via resolution an intergovernmental agreement between Wayne County and the Grosse Ile Township, a local partnering initiative of 2018, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. Thank you. We're going to keep the county working. And that concludes tonight's action items. We're on to reports. Madam Clerk.
Lovely. Thank you very much. So a couple of things prepared from Deputy Clerk Friel. Give you an update on June 3rd. Over 2,200 permanent absentee ballot applications were mailed out. And if you did not receive your application or would still like to receive an application, please contact our clerk's office. Ballots will be available as of June 24th. So far, over 600 applications have been returned. All you need to do is call the clerk's office and we will mail an application to you. You can email the clerk's office. To pick up a ballot, you will have to do so in person if you don't want it mailed to you. And for this election, we are trying the two Yeah. So this year, what we've decided to do is, since more and more voters are voting using the absentee voting method of returning their ballot, we are actually going to continue to staff our physical polling places, but in addition to that, we will now staff 2 absent ballot voting counting boards, so that it will not, we don't have one team that has to deal with a huge number of ballots on election day. And so we are going to staff 2 teams to work concurrently on counting and tabulating obviously tabulating the absent voter ballots. But that also means we need more poll inspector volunteers. And I know Brian has already started training and has put a list together, but if you are at all interested, please do contact us. We do pay a stipend, a small lump sum as thank you. We do offer pizza for the workers and donuts, all you can eat, or that we bring. Some of the precincts are now starting to have their own potlucks, so it's become a bonding exercise for Grosse Ile residents. The reason I want to focus on congratulating our graduates of Grosse Ile High School class of 2019 is this could be your last opportunity to work the electronic poll book for the elections. So if you are going to be 16 before the actual election day, you can work as a poll inspector at one of our precincts. So if you're interested in getting that experience, we encourage our graduated seniors and our new seniors to come contact us and work on one of our election teams. The clerk's office is also introducing a new Freedom of Information Act request portal, which can be found on our website. The new portal will allow us to accept requests through a modern online portal. It will evaluate requests and route information to the appropriate staff while also tracking the progress of the request. We will maintain compliance with dashboards and audit trails within the portal. The FOIA request will be routed back to the clerk's office for release, and once the records have been released, the FOIA request will actually be made public in the portal so that future requests don't have to be made. You can actually search the portal for the information that somebody else may have previously asked for. And this will create, I think, some efficiencies in the process for both residents and our staff. It will keep information available to the public once it has been requested. And I think it helps, open the door to the township, so to speak. It's part of our effort to continue bringing transparency into government functions. So, and this is something that Clerk Friel has brought forward, and I'm very excited because it also takes us one step further into the 21st century. So thank you, Clerk Friel. And with that, I only have one short personal note. My family just got a little bit bigger. My nephew Max and his high school sweetheart Aubrey Johnson, 2 island kids, got married this weekend. The Detroit Princess, and we're very happy for them, and I want to congratulate them.
How far out for Ursula?
Ursula, my daughter, is getting married in August. So it's been a busy summer for the O'Connor Robinson Hasserot claim.
But new dresses, right, each time?
New dresses.
All right. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Mr. Treasurer.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. The May investment report for the township is available on my website. The actual report is, we're compiling it, but you can view it on my website. All 2018 unpaid real property tax bills are considered delinquent and now must be paid to Wayne County. Wayne County has letters requesting payment for delinquent taxes have been mailed to all the property owners. Delinquent tax information and options for payment are available online at the Wayne County website. The Grosse Ile Treasurer's Office can offer assistance for delinquent taxes as well. Annette will kind of guide you through the maze of Wayne County workers. The Treasurer's Office is currently preparing my second, actually my first for 19. The tax bills will go out in July. You're welcome.
Can't wait.
All property owners will be mailed their tax bill in early July upon request from their mortgage companies holding escrow accounts for their customers. A duplicate bill will be sent to them on their request. I would like to take just a moment to congratulate Mr. Kreiderman, who was selected as a Grosse Ile Rotary Citizen of the Year, and he was the Grand Marshal of our parade. We had a nice dinner for him at the Yacht Club. It's an honor that goes on and on and on. We've done this now for 40 years, and it's probably one of the most important things we do in the community. And secondly, our Rotary Club is having an annual golf outing. If anybody's interested in participating, please contact me. You can contact me or Joyce Reedy. The event is going to start at on the 17th, and it'll start at 8 a.m. Shotgun start at 9:30. That's all I have.
June 17th?
Yeah.
June 17th.
Monday.
West Shore?
Yeah.
What else? Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. Let's move on to trustee reports. Mr. Malvesto.
Well, to date, the fire department has 236 rescues and 38 fire calls. As always, these boys run a very busy year. They turn out, like I said earlier, all times of the day or night. Doesn't matter what the day is. They're out there doing the work for us. Thanks, Chief, and your crew. Secondly, new business opening up on Macomb Street. It's the Tails organization. They're having a grand opening on Saturday the 15th, 11 to 3. There will be hot dogs and other things. Stop by and check them out. If you haven't seen them on TV, it's been up on GI TV right along. But please show up and support them. And I'll be there cooking hot dogs for them. I'm looking forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Malvesto. Mr. Nelson.
No report tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Bletcher.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I have the pleasure of sitting on 3 commissions. The Police Commission meets tomorrow night, 7 o'clock at the Public Safety Building, 24525 Meridian. Everybody's invited. Come on down and see what we do. I'm going to reserve the monthly statistics for the final meeting of this month, Township Board meeting. I would add that Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee is still exploring options with Bellevue to open up part of that for biking. That analysis is not complete, but we expect to have something here within the next 2 months. Regarding open space greenways, it is in the spirit of what Clerk O'Connor has done in terms of recognizing some of the outstanding youth that we have. There is a liaison from the Grosse Ile schools to the open space greenways. That is currently Linda Worsley, who is, in the vernacular of the term, retiring to go to college. She is leaving the high school. She has been absolutely wonderful to work with, and I want to take this time to thank Linda for all of the work that she's put into it. She's been wonderful to work with. She has made us a better commission by having the youth of the island involved, and most certainly the high school students. So on behalf of the entire commission, I'd like to take the time to thank Linda for her good work and all the things that she has done for us. Job well done, and Godspeed with college. Finally, I want to take the opportunity during our study session. Ann Darsnick gave us an excellent update on where we are with all of our various budget items, the big, the small, and literally the all. An explanation with MERS, healthcare benefits, as well as retiree benefits. And Ann, I just want to take this time to say thank you for a job well done. I understand the issues now much better than I did 2 hours ago. It is complicated. I thought I knew a lot a couple of hours ago. You have made a very muddy stream very clear and understanding, and I want to thank you for a job well done. I want to say that tonight. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Bletcher. Let's move along. Mr. Budney was taken ill this evening. Is obviously excused from tonight's meeting. Mr. Sorty said he had nothing to share with us tonight. Mr. Ream, manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Because of Deputy Clerk Friel asked me not to speak too long tonight, I have about 3 or 4 pages of notes to go through. DPS announcement tomorrow, June 11th, from 8 to 4. The water will be off on Voight Avenue in the north end. There have been push notifications and door hangers in the entire neighborhood, so just an extra reach out to the residents. The update of Groseal Connect is near complete. The launch will probably take place in a few weeks. We'll do a push notification in advance, and by the next meeting, we'll probably be doing a demonstration. Mr. Friel and Mr. Fournier have been working very hard on that, as well as the rest of the managers, so that's greatly appreciated. And there is a Water's Edge Golf Scramble on June 22nd, which will take place before our next meeting, so I wanted to invite everyone to that. Our next meeting is June 24th, and I'd like to turn the rest of my time over to Angela regarding DDA events. Thank you.
We just have a couple of things starting, and see if I can make this a little bit bigger. The weather's breaking, and so we're starting to see more and more kids biking and families biking out on Macomb, and that's really great, and it's nice to see. On Friday, we're going to have the first of 2 movies that we'll show this summer, and it just happens to coincide on purpose with the day after the last day of school. So Friday at dusk, families can join us. Hotel Transylvania Summer Vacation was the pick. If you're interested in voting on the pick for July, right now we have Back to the Future in the running, but you can go to the Facebook page. It starts at dusk. Galindo's Taco Truck and the Tin Can Coffee Truck will be joining us. I think you can see that a little bit better. So they'll be joining us a little bit earlier than dusk, so you can come out, walk up and down Macomb, bring a blanket. It will be at Lions Park this year, not at the Fifth Third Bank, because we do have electrical down there now, so we'll be pulling that and have a nice screen, and so please join us. And then shortly after, on Sunday, June 23rd, and every Sunday after that through August and through the rest of the summer, from 6 to 8, we will start market music on Macomb. So this is the Concerts on the Commons combined with the Community Grown Gardens Market. They will have a CSA pickup opportunity, and some of the Bread Brothers will be there, some other groups will be there, and we're thankful for the partnership with the Rosie Meyer family, Groseal Arts Alliance, and Community Grown Gardens to put this on. So please join us on Sundays from 6 to 8 starting June 23rd. That is it.
Questions for?
No question. I noticed on your sign you said bring blanket and bug spray, and
well, that's hopeful, right? It looks like it's going to be
Right.
about 68 and dry.
It just reminded me, though, and I work for a medical office. The state of Michigan has been putting out a lot of notifications. This is a really bad year for ticks, and people should be mindful when they come in from outdoors. Check themselves, wear light clothing so they're easy to see. I have to admit, I've been bitten. And pets bring them in. Now, pets have that medication that kills the ticks. We don't. So, but they carry a lot of diseases. And so in our practice, we're getting probably 2 or 3 calls a day from people who have been bitten or have had a tick attach themselves. We tend to have mostly dog ticks here, not deer ticks. But if you do have one, you can take it to Wayne County and they'll give you a kit that you can send to the state. So, but they say good bug spray and wearing light clothing will help protect you. So I just thought it was important that we do make that comment because it's been a wet, very wet spring.
And Dale had mentioned asking what CSA is. I believe it's community-supported agriculture, so it's essentially what the market is offering. If you're interested, is a weekly subscription, if you will. So it's your chance to pick up greens, and they'll have it prepackaged or in a setup for the week, and you can come and pick it up and take it with you. That's important to note. So, and they're out at Westcroft and Community Grown Gardens. Danielle West, she's leading the charge on that one, so she and I are working together on that. So.
Thank you, Mr. Kokas. All right, that now supervisor's update. Bear with me. It's just been a real busy couple of weeks. So I'll fill in with something I would assume is of importance to everyone. What's been going on with the Wayne County bridges? We had another meeting on Saturday morning, a couple hours with the new bridge engineer, Mike Van Antwerp. Very personal, very smart guy. Filled us in on where we stand at the moment. And I'll cover just the high points from the hour-and-a-half meeting. We will have another pier inspection that involves the reach all, that big orange truck, but it requires a closure of the bridge for 3 hours. This will be June 21st, Friday. Not this coming, but the following Friday from 9 to 3 again. Again, if they finish early, they reopen the bridge early. So they're pretty cooperative on that. So count on that. There was going to be another inspection in the interim on June 14th of the upper structure. Right now they don't anticipate that'll involve a closure of the bridge for any length of time, but that could change. So if necessary, there may be something on the 14th. They're very good about letting us know ahead of time. But again, Grosse Ile Connect is our best means of getting that information out to you. In case you think nothing has been going on, even though it kind of looks like it, they installed a new electrical system on the bridge, most of it on the Pier 9, which is the pier where the pedestal is mounted, where the bridge swings. So the electrics have all been upgraded there. The two, as we've briefed before, the reconstruction of the county bridge, the swing bridge, the Grosse Ile Parkway Bridge, the technical term, 2 phases. The first is the underwater improvements, rebuilding the piers left over from the railroad days, the ones that are 150 years old now. That's supposed to start now, I said the fall of 19. It's in design build bidding phase. We should have the contractor mid-July, and construction on that should start in November. Again, subject to change. 2020, they will go to the structure itself, the section loss, the replacement, the welding, the painting, all that. That, again, that's in design at the moment, and that is supposed to, said fall of 19, probably not into 2020 for phase 2. While they're working on phase 2, there will be probably some closures of the bridge, and they will coincide work or the replacement of the Grosse Ile Parkway Bridge over West River Road coincides with the same closures. So if the swing bridge is closed, that's when they'll try to schedule the two together so we don't have additional closures. They've been very good working with us on that. The bridge we've considered the most critical now, the Meso Island, or they call it the East River Road Bridge. It really is the only bridge on East River Road, but to me it's been the Meso Island Bridge. Another inspection scheduled for next week, and they plan to start replacement in October. It will be one lane. Obviously, we can't take the bridge out, so the plan is to replace it one lane at a time. The bridge is, he says it's safe, but it's showing some wear, and we discussed a number of means to prolong its life. Something could come up to preclude the reconstruction for even longer. So we were asking about ways we could, as a community, prolong the life of that bridge, and he was the thing he emphasized the most was speed, the dynamic loading, speed across the bridge. We posted the 5 mile an hour. It's an advisory limit. We posted that for a reason. I see it universally ignored. And that's unfortunate because every one of these, every one of the lawn care trucks with a trailer full of mowers and skid steers and all that goes slamming across that, maybe taking days off the life of that bridge. So we discussed ways, perhaps stop signs, speed bumps, reducing it to one lane and take your chances. All of those would have a calming effect on it. We're not sure what we're going to do, but we'll see. We'll stick with public safety and see if you have a recommendation, and also our engineers, and maybe we'll have to impose something because the voluntary advisory speed limits don't seem to be getting the job done. Other things we've discovered as we started peeling back the onion involved in replacing that bridge, the location of utilities, water and sewer. I can't wait to get that GIS in because it will leave no doubt as to exactly where our sewer lines run. Right now, we're a little bit of guesswork, a little bit of best estimate, but all that's going to affect how we establish a cofferdam, how the foundation spreaders will go in. Obviously, we can't put a foundation or drive a cofferdam in to a sewer line. It'd be a mess, but it would be a long-term mess. The cables overhead, there may be a conflict with that. These are all things we'll work out, but that's something we're working on. We really want to get that bridge fixed. I think the chief will sleep a whole lot better at night, and when the chief sleeps good, I sleep good. But that's what we've been working on, and we're going to meet again. We'll be meeting again with the county on the 28th or 9th, that last Friday. Okay, so the closures. I want to say just a whole bunch of thanks. When the need came up with the high water, the riverine, and shoreline flooding, it became apparent that we had some residents who needed sandbags. And I made a couple of introductory calls, got Lorinda and our new DPS director, Derek Thiel, got involved. They located a couple hundred sandbags that were being stored down in Flat Rock, got them delivered up here. With one phone call, John Keim had 5 yards of fill sand available. Chief Warnick, Deputy Chief Harden, we were wondering a place, where do I put these bags where people can pick them up, but they don't take them all. We can kind of meter out. 20 sandbags, filling 20 sandbags for one person is an afternoon's work. There's no point in anybody taking 50 if he's only going to fill 20. So we kind of metered them out, and they offered the public safety building where a dispatcher can kind of keep an eye on how many bags are coming and going. It was, as far as I know, it was successful. I mean, some places it was a little too late. For others, hopefully they saved some of their property. I was just thrilled at how well all these employees worked together. A few phone calls, everything got done within a matter of about 2 hours. We had sandbags and fill sand, and we were able to let the residents defend their own properties. We heard a little bit about the asset management, but we heard a lot about the asset management plan for the wastewater treatment. Again, as I mentioned earlier, all part of the lead copper rules. The lead rules, the lead service line rules, I'm just going to say it's just a mess. It's clearly an unfunded mandate. They've asked more questions than they've answered, but somehow we're supposed to fix it. And I was just disappointed that, in Flint they're paying to replace their service lines. We're paying our taxes, we're paying for our own infrastructure, we're paying to replace our own lead service lines, and we have to have them done within a certain time frame, even though we're not getting any excess lead levels in our reports. But I'm just disappointed that we have to pay for Flint, we have to pay for ourselves. I'm sorry, but it's just disappointing that we have to shoulder two loads. And how disappointing was it for all of us when Detroit Public Schools, the day they opened was the day they tested their water coolers for lead. They couldn't have done it the day before. They couldn't have done it a week before. The day they opened is the day they tested for lead. And shocker, when those pipes sat dormant all summer, there was, in their old buildings, there was lead accumulation. So overall, the copper is kind of irrelevant in this, but the whole lead copper rules and the state mandates, it's a good goal. I'm not sure this is well, it's the way we're going to have to get there. It's going to be expensive. It's going to take time. And we're going to need more guidance. There are a lot of law firms lining up on that one. Heck, congratulations to the class of 2019, Grosse Ile High School. Best of luck to everyone. That concludes my report. Let's, with that, open it to public comment. 3 minutes, any topic. Ms. Maga, would you like to go first tonight?
Good evening. My name is Judy Maga. Two things. One, I sent an email. I want to thank you again for passing the resolution about McLeod Steel. I haven't heard if any new information has come up on that. If they have, if Crown has made their intentions clear to anybody, or I know one of the trustees was supposed to have a meeting with Mr. Samhat himself, I believe.
I spoke with Mr. Samhat via telephone, and he...
Nothing.
Interesting conversation. Well, it's just straightforward. Crown has no plan on hand for what they intend to do with the property, and we are many years away from that property being released for whatever, because on the national priorities list and Superfund cleanup. Going to be a long process.
You've said that several times. I hope you're right. I don't believe that they are not bound to they don't need to wait to start doing business until the cleanup is finished. That's the problem. As long as they don't interfere with the cleanup or make it worse, they can begin at any time. So we don't know. It could be 18 months. That we don't know what they're going to do yet. So, but anyway, thank you for passing the resolution. It was clear by the number of people that were here that it's a high priority for the community. In an email that I sent to all of you, I requested that we discuss that you discuss the idea of scheduling a town hall or a series of town halls to talk about progress on the cloud cleanup, potential impacts of various suggested industries on that site, and ways we can continue to protect ourselves as direct neighbors living on an island. I know we don't own it, but we need to protect ourselves and we need to be proactive about it. Perhaps we could have a state rep, invite Debbie Stabenow, invite Gary Peters, have them come and let them know how upset we are about the possibility of something like that happening in our area. And just, there have been other communities where in Baltimore there was a proposed a similar thing with intermodal shipping, and the residents were so upset and kept pressure on local government that after spending $1 million to investigate the possibility, they ditched the idea and said, it's obviously people are going to be too upset about this, we're not going to do it. So it can be done. We can keep the pressure on them. And second of all, and I don't know, I missed the first half of the meeting, or first half hour of the meeting, I'm sorry, I don't know if it was discussed or not. The parade, there was a very offensive, very disturbing float in the parade. There have been many comments made. We received, I am the vice president of the Grosse Ile Democratic Club. Our president's wife received an email personally from several people about how offended they were by the float. There should be no floats that have swear words on them in our parade. In a family event, it's politically divisive, as if we don't have enough of that already. It's offensive to anybody with any moral code, the things that they were saying and the music that they were playing and the people they were mocking. It was just beyond. And I don't know what the rules are in the township about allowing people in the parade, or who I can contact to ask that they not be allowed to come back next year. It can't be just like anybody who asks gets to get in.
Okay, so I was caught up in much of that traffic, and I saw the terms repeated: hateful, divisive, racist, et cetera, et cetera. I was at the front of the parade, so I didn't know what was going on in the back. I did take a picture of the float, and on the left side, there was no, I won't call it profanity, but I'll call BS is probably improper on the side of it. But I did see later it was on the right side of the float thing. But historically, we've never put constraints. We've never had to, but we are going to sit down between the festival, DDA, and REC and say, okay, what limits? First of all, what limits can we impose? We can impose anything we want. I mean, some communities have no elected officials, no politics.
Well,
I don't think that's where we want to be.
Well, I don't think so either. Wyandotte for years had elected officials only. No candidates could march. So if you're running, you need to find another venue. And they were certainly not a candidate, that float. They're just horrible people.
Well, I mean, there was a float or a car with a sign for Debbie Dingle. She's not a candidate either.
No, she's an elected official. Yes,
well, Donald Trump, as last time I checked, was an elected official.
That float
also,
was not Donald Trump.
He was
not
Trump
here.
Supporters. So I'm not going to, we could parse this, but yeah, we will look at. It's got to be narrowly crafted because, as I was accused of hiding behind the First Amendment. And then another lady said she was well aware of the First Amendment privileges, and I found both of those statements just a little troubling. So we will have legal advice. We'll see where we want to be with this parade.
I appreciate
that. And we can put reasonable constraints, and I don't think we'll have a problem with it. And I know we can control bullhorns and loudspeakers.
Yes, well, I appreciate that, and I'm sure you've heard from other people, but I just...
Oh, I've heard, yes, ma'am.
All right.
Well, I'm just going to say I'm glad you brought it up.
Thank you. All right,
And actually, Judy, it was on the list of things for my supervisor's update. I was going to bring that very topic up, but I got bogged down in bridge stuff. So, again, thank you.
I understand. And again...
We are going to fix it.
And I also had mentioned in the email that I sent that I appreciate all the hard work that you all do. This is a great place to live. It's not an easy job, and I appreciate all the work and time you put into it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Other public comment?
While you're waiting, will there at some point be an update on the festival? I know it's a bit early days yet. They usually come to us a little later, but there will be a good review of the...
I would expect something at the next meeting.
Yeah, at the June 24th meeting, there will be an update financially and everything else about the festival from Kim O'Farrell and Chad.
Tom Snyder, 8448 Rucker. I do have a comment about the festival as well. I understand the weather was not the best this year, but the Sunday night fireworks, I'm not sure are the way to go. Besides parents working, kids going to school, I think it's time that we look at maybe putting the fireworks back on Friday night with the rain delay being the Saturday. And again, I know that Mr. Nelson, you're part of that, the group with the festival, and Chad is not here to discuss that also, but I'd like the board consider that for next year.
I think that's pretty much universally acknowledged that that's a better way of doing business.
Okay. And then, Mr. Bletcher, what nights do you meet with the BPAC?
The BPAC is the third Thursday of the month.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Thank you, Mr. Snyder. Other comments? Mrs. Walker.
Kathy Walker, Thorpe Court. I have some bad news for everybody. We have to cancel the Blessing of the Fleet this year, and it's a shame because we had Mrs. Dingle coming to speak, which was a pretty plum thing. I was really proud of. We had an orchestra, we had everything, but with the water being the way it is, and I will tell you, I mean, it's bad here, but where our boat is, oh my God, it's just horrible. So anyways, we didn't want to do something and not have anybody come, so we canceled it, unfortunately. But it'll be back next year, and hopefully the water will be down. And there's no electricity either, so we needed electricity for the band. So it was going to be a really nice one. But Mrs. Dingle's fine about it, and I'm going to send a little gift, so hopefully other things will work out. We have kayaking tomorrow night, even though I don't know if we're flooded, but I went by last night and we were floating. But anyways, come, more water the better, and it'll, we can get under the thoroughfare bridge, barely. And so that's a good thing, especially in the beginning of the year. We have to do what we have to do. This is, it's cyclical, and we all understand that it's a situation nobody is happy about, but we're going to make it work. But again, I wanted to let everybody know, and I will put something out saying it's canceled, but next year we'll be back. It's not for lack. I mean, we really had a good thing lined up this year. So anyways, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Walker. Other comments? Mr. Clark? Oh, I'm sorry.
Woody Clark, Park Lane. Legal fees.
To Cox in the amount of $1,000.
Speak up. Please. Speak up, please.
I'm sorry, to Cox in the amount of $1,089.
Still didn't hear you. I guess I'm deaf. Okay. Hazardous waste. What's the next hazardous waste? Do you know?
I don't at the moment, but I think Wayne County is publishing.
It's in August, but I don't know the date.
Okay. So by August, we should know. Somebody should know.
We'll get it pushed out. We'll get it pushed out.
Did you talk about McLeod tonight? Did you talk about McLeod tonight? What's going on?
It's right now. It's demolition and remediation.
And what is going to go in there? Have they said anything that's what's going in?
No, but that's somewhere between a couple years down the road and many years down the road.
Okay.
I mean, really, it is.
I'm sure it is. It's because there's a lot of stuff in the ground that they don't know what's there.
With every shovel, they're not going to like what they find, but that's just me.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Ms. Moreau. Morrow? I'm sorry. Morrow.
All right, Jody Morrow, Grosse Hill, Michigan. I had to change up some things, so I know my 3 minutes is starting here. But first, I wanted to say to Mr. Van Oss, thank you so much for recognizing Mr. Kreiderman. I really appreciate that. He's like a second father to me. He's an amazing person, so I appreciate that. Couldn't have gone to a better person. And his daughter that passed, 20 years ago was instrumental in the original design for Tails. So I really appreciate that you brought that up tonight. Okay, so I just wanted to talk about the grand opening of Tails, but then I had to also change up a couple things here because, my 3 minutes changed based on what you guys talked about tonight. I'm again embarrassed that you guys brought this up again. It makes no sense to me. I have to have you once again, I come in front of you guys all the time, and I ask you to help me understand things. Help me understand why we're talking once again about a person that has been suspended. And you, Mr. Fletcher, talked about how she has not slept at night. What do you think that the board member back there that had to go through court felt and hasn't slept through nights either? She's been suspended for her behavior, written up over 13 times. So again, we're going to move on, as we have, as you see. We're moving on without the support of this board. But typically I'm prepared, but based on those comments, I just don't get it. It turned my whole speech around. I came here tonight because I really, truly wanted to thank all the fantastic volunteers for Island Fest. As a mother of a fourth grader, when we were not at a hockey tournament, we were at Island Fest every single hour. And with the conditions that went on at Island Fest, it was incredible that they did the job that they did. So then I think tonight what you guys said about a resolution for a person, I think to myself, I sat back and listened. Did we ever sit in front of this board and give a resolution to Joe Porcerelli for all of his service that he did throughout the years? In my memory, and I'm from Grosse Hill, grew up here in 1972, never heard of this before in my life. Did you as a board sit up here and talk about a resolution? Joe Porcerelli, his outstanding service. Chief Warnick, I see him every morning walking kids across Meridian to get to the school. Every single morning, snow, sleet, rain, in the blazing sun. Have we given him a word? Have we sat up here on this board and talked about a resolution for his service? No. Chief Murdoch, you guys are going to cut me off for 3 minutes, but I don't have enough to say. I don't have enough time to say of the great things that Chief Murdoch has done. Have you guys given him a resolution? What about Laura Schaller and her incredible service as an ACO that never had conflict? What about Mr. Riem? That poor guy has to send us letters to a nonprofit every single time he's told. He has to deal with us, and it's sometimes not pleasant, but he does a great job. What about Ann? She has to balance that budget. And as we all know, sometimes it's not easy. Angela Secokis. She does her best to bring back Macomb Street. And she has done a great deal of service to this community. She gives back to our kids. She is pleasant. We see her, and there's never an issue. I don't know. What about Chad Novak? I know he doesn't work for the township, but what has that guy done? Have we brought him up? And has this board talked wonderful things about him? Anyway, we are going to move on, and I'm here to announce Tales grand opening on Macomb Street this Saturday, June 15th. We hope all of you will attend. We really do, because we're moving on. We had a successful Island Fest, thanks to Chad Novak letting our booths come back. It was a great fundraiser, but we are going to continue doing what we have done for the last 20 years. We are going to support our homeless animals and pets. And we just want you to know that we have distributed all of our flyers and our signs. Our Macomb businesses are excited about having something on Macomb Street, because really, truly, that is what you're looking for, right? You want Macomb Street to succeed. You want new businesses? Well, you gave us a perfect opportunity. We're on Macomb Street. Please come and see us. Thank you.
Let me just throw out, I thought I said the reason Ms. Cordes Redfield got the resolution because she has been publicly defamed again and again and again. If Chief Murdoch were publicly defamed, I'd propose a resolution to support him. If Deputy Chief Harden was put through that, I would put up a resolution to let him know the board still supports him. I thought that was very clear in my response to Mr. Malvesto's comments, and I still stand by that. Mr. Heil.
While Mr. Heil comes up, I did look up the household hazardous waste days. Oh, it looks like Woody is gone.
Clark?
Oh, maybe he's still there.
Woody.
According to Wayne County, Saturday, May 11th at Henry Ford Community. Oh, God, you're right. I'm sorry. Saturday, June 29th at Second Ebenezer Church in DeQuinder Street, Detroit. And then Saturday, August 10 at Westland Shopping Center behind the JCPenney store. And then the last one is Saturday, October 19th at Wayne County Community College on North Line. And we'll post these on the township website as well.
Okay. All right. Thanks. We will get it published. Thank you. Thanks, Uta. Mr. Heil.
I think I needed that moment to calm down a bit. This whole thing with the animals. I have talked with people from Tales, not nearly as much as I talked to Julie or Laura Schaller, but I know animal people because my wife associates with them. And if I look at the accomplishments that Tales has attained, the volunteer hours that have been spent, the monies that have been raised, their achievements are exceptional. And they have an ability to contribute to this community in a valuable way. The work that they have done, if we have to pay people to do it, is priceless, because not only do we save that money, but these people really know, understand, and care. And that's priceless. I think that I've heard people comment about who did this and who did that from a variety of angles in this circumstance at hand. And I could probably, should I choose, find a way to find fault here or there with everyone. The facts are what they are. And I think that the focus needs to be that there is still a need to be fulfilled, and that something of value comes from everyone who is here who cares. And if we can focus on that goal which we share and work together to accomplish it, with time, the pain, the hurt that probably everyone has felt will be mitigated. I can look at, as she mentioned, Laura Schaller. I can look at Julie Cordes. They have both helped me in meaningful ways. We need to come together.
Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Heil. Other comments? Well,
moved.
No.
One more.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mrs. Hull.
Roberta Hall, East River Road. I'm associated, as many of you know, for many, many years with TAILS. I am also a person who is intimately involved with the lawsuit against Mr. Loftus and Ms. Cordes. I am here tonight because I was sitting at my dinner table and heard your resolution, and I about fell off my chair. You know, that's your decision. If you all want to do that, fine. But I think, first of all, you need to look at the facts, which are presented probably a little bit with a biased influence. I don't know many of you personally, but Mr. Bletcher, really, you wonder what Julie Cordes feels like. How do you think I feel like when I get up in the morning? Seriously, I don't know you, but how do you think I feel when I get up in the morning after putting in years and years of service at Grosse Ile Animal Shelter only to be literally drop-kicked out the door by your ACO? Seriously. But you know what? Let's put that all aside. Let's forget what has happened and let's move forward. You made your decision to remove TAILS from the animal shelter. Fine. TAILS has made a decision to become a new business on Macomb for the sole purpose of supporting homeless and domesticated animals. We are no longer in competition with Grosse Ile Animal Shelter. ACO Cordes does her thing, bringing in strays and surrenders for the community. TAILS is out there to support whatever homeless pets there are and pets in need that we can service. Two different missions. So this is what I'm going to say to you tonight. I think it's time for the bullying to end. I think it's time for us all to grow up and look at the future of animal care on this island, to look at the future of animal care in the Downriver area, the Detroit area. There is presently a Facebook page called Euthanized Animals at Detroit Animal Care and Control. They are going to post animals who are going to be euthanized because their shelter is full. And here we sit with a premier shelter that we together have built, and yet it is virtually empty. So why can we not put this aside and work together for the good of the pets, for the good of the community? Taxpayer dollars are going into a shelter right now that is supporting 4 cats. As of today, there were 4 animals on Pet Finder. Fine, that's all fine and good. But you have a shelter less than 20 miles away that is euthanizing pets on a weekly basis. How does that compute? Are we such an island that we can't reach out and help our neighbors? We reach out to communities around the Detroit area for children, for adults in need, for abused women. Why can we not reach out and help our pets? Many of us are pet owners. Many of us think of our pets as our children. Many of us don't care about pets, and I understand that. But I think as a community, we need to figure out where we are and what we want to do and what we want to show to the downriver area. Do we want to be known as an island who only takes in animals who are bona fide Grosse Ile citizens? Or do we want to be known as a shelter, a community with 2 animal groups who are willing to help homeless and pets in need? So that's up to you as a board to decide. You obviously made a decision tonight, and that's your prerogative. I'm simply saying I think it's time to put all this stuff behind us and move on and let us do our work individually and, if possible, collectively in the future. Good night.
Thank you, Mrs. Hull.
Mr. Supervisor, if I...
Since you were singled out, Mr. Bletcher.
No, and I don't look at any of this as a win for anybody. Ms. Hall, I read the depositions. I've gone through the materials that were provided. It is very clear to me that Tails has had many thousands of hours and raised many tens of thousands of dollars to do great work for animals. I do not think that any of this is going to be a win for anybody. Everybody loses. Most importantly, the animals lose. I want to say that I did read through all of the depositions, and one thing that screams out loud and clear to me is that your hearts are in the right place. You have spent so much time and so much energy there. I do not want you to leave here tonight thinking that it is just a one-sided picture. When I read through those, I felt that there was a tremendous amount of commitment, a tremendous amount of time and energy and work that had been done. There were differences of opinion. Unfortunately, those differences became a very ugly situation. I agree with you. I would like to see everything just end and just stop. But I will tell you, I appreciate the work that you have. I have had dogs for most of my life. I have dogs right now, and they are a family member. When you lose one or you have to put one down, I sat on the floor with Dr. Woodward and my wife when we put our dog down last, and you cry. It is a family member that you're losing. It is something that's been very loyal to you. It has been a tremendous asset. It's brought a lot of joy. And I commend you and all of the work that you and Robin have done and so many others for that. And I agree with you. It is time for this to just stop. I would like to do that, but I don't want you to think that I believe that this is just a one-sided view. I read through all of those, and I believe very strongly in my heart that your heart is in the right place and that Tails has done a tremendous job for 20 years. It's time for this to go away, and I would like to see no more social media. I'd like to see no more letters. I'd like to see nothing more than good work for the pets. And I thank you for the work that you ladies have done. I feel very strongly about that. I think that you have done a tremendous service to the community. As a pet owner and a pet lover, I just want to say thank you, and it's time that all of this just move forward with putting all of that behind us, and let's see what we can do. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, and say thank you again.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bletcher. Closing comments before we adjourn? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm focused on it. Let's talk about apparatus bay, garage floors. Chief.
This is a bigger project.
We're listening, Chief.
Okay, as you well know, the police and fire have been working on an outbuilding to house equipment that's been sitting out and about the outside of the building. And when I talk about equipment, I'm talking a lot of money. And then on the inside of the apparatus bay, the fire department side is overpacked. There's no room to move because of the lack of space. So, that being said, we contracted with Bob Howie a couple months ago with this board's permission, and we met today and we're starting to move forward. We did go through pricing on conventional built, of course, steel built, and pole barn built. Steel built was about $40,000 higher than a conventional built or a stick built building. The pole barn seems to be coming in between those two prices. But right now, like I said before when I talked before this board, that a conventional built building is probably going to be the way to go. 3 block up, conventional built, asphalt roof, 6 doors, heat and electric, that's it. The building, we'd like to go out for bid because we got some pricing in. It's right around $300,000 for the building with excavation, the construction, the whole shot. I think it's a little high. I think the preliminary numbers that came in, they've been inflated until we actually go out for bid. Now, if I'm allowed to go out for bid and look at the building, doesn't mean we have to buy it. If it comes even in higher, hopefully it's going to come in lower, but I think we need to send it out to bid to find out what it's exactly going to come in at. So we get multiple bids. The architect was working with 1 or 2 people getting pricing. And you know how that goes. If you get 3 or 4 or 5 bids on a building, you're going to see a substantial difference. I'm hoping for that anyways. So I know the building has been budgeted, but I think I would like to get it out to bid and find out where we're exactly going to be, is what I'd like to do.
What else for us? Questions for the chief? I know you've been pursuing this for
about 5 years.
Quite a while now.
I think I can speak with comfort that the floor will be in order.
There ain't going to be no paint on it, that's for sure. So, but yeah, I'm sorry?
Add back to us in the next board meeting. You want to take it in front of the commission? What do you want to do? Okay.
Well, what I'm going to do is if you allow me to go out for bid, I'm going to take it before the commission first and get their yes or no on it, and then bring it back to you guys and discuss it with you guys and see where we want to be. This is a joint project with police and fire. So there's some money's coming out of police budget and there's money's coming out of fire budget. So.
You've already done preliminary work, right?
Almost all we got to do is we did preliminary drawings to kind of get the rough estimates and costs. We're going to finalize the drawings on the absolute particulars and then send it out to bid.
Just need to bring that back in front of the board, I'm sure.
Okay, then I'm going to do that then.
Chief, be very, there's going to be a 6-bay building, correct?
Correct.
The fire department will have 2 of those bays. I'm sorry, the police department will have 2 of the bays.
The police department right now, as it sits, they're picking up about 25% of the building. That being said, when we were talking about costs, it gone up a little bit based on this current price. So this is a conversation I had with Brent today, and we'll have it with the chief in the morning, or when we get a chance, and we'll go from there. If the fire department has to, swing a little bit more one way or the other, we're willing to do that. But it's important that the fire service gets the building up, because we need to get about 2 or 3 pieces of equipment out of the building. And actually, what it's turning into is turning into our water rescue building. Is what it's turning into: dive trailer, water rescue trailer, airboat, the pursuit in the wintertime for storage, all these things. So if you look at the building as a whole, it's going to be our water rescue building. Everything that deals with water rescue, and as you well know, we take care of water rescue between Group Detroit and Group Toledo. So, and depending on the weather conditions and the ceilings when it comes to flying, Groseal might be the only thing out there. So we need to, in the downriver dive, we just put $83,000 into a brand new trailer. It's a custom-built trailer for the dive team. It's located here on Groseal because guess who uses it the most? We do. And we need to get it inside.
Also, Chief, this is storage only, electricity, no plumbing.
No plumbing, no bathrooms, just heat and power. That's it. It's strictly a storage building.
Anything else for Chief? Bring us a good proposal.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Chief. Anything else from the board? I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Moved, Trustee Bletcher. Second by the supervisor. Those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None offered. We'll call the meeting adjourned at 23. Thanks, everyone, tonight. See you in 2 weeks.
Good.